Good morning, my name is Richard Bach and welcome to my garden. I'm wearing a hat and there's a reason for that. If you're going to be in the garden a lot, you really need a hat. And long sleeves help, especially if you're getting older. You don't want to be at the dermatologist every other week. This hat I really like because it has air holes around the top, has a big brim, and you can put it on and nail it down. It's not going to blow off. I've had that happen. So that's one thing I wanted to talk to you about today. Another thing I wanted to talk to you about, we're not all in the same location. I've gardened upstate New York. I've gardened in Florida. I've gardened in Minnesota. I know if you're in Arizona, you can't grow a lot of the things I'm growing. But garden design is the same everywhere. So that's one thing we will talk about in future shows. Right now I want to talk about roses. Now if you can grow roses, and trust me, I have grown climbers, ramblers, bourbon, David Austin, shrub roses, on and on and on. The easiest roses you can grow are knockout roses. And shrub roses like Simplicity, and you're going to get your biggest bloom in the spring with knockout roses. They're going to look great, and I have them right behind me so you can see them. They're beautiful. They're easy to maintain. These are my knockout roses. I buy them bare root is my favorite way to plant them. They'll come with like 3 stalks about this high, 3 or 4 roots. You dig a hole, you kind of mound it up a little bit, you sit them on the mound, fill it in, water, and feed. I feed all my roses in the spring with 10-10-10. I just pelt them, handfuls of 10-10-10. You can buy it at the hardware store or one of the box stores. It takes a year or 2 for them to get started, and then after that, I never trim them in March. I wait until after this first bloom, and I go over them with hedge clippers and bring them down. Now, as the years go by and they get bigger, you need to get in and thin them out and cut out the big old dead stalks. You want to feed them after you trim them the first time, after the first bloom. That's when I give them, you can use any of the fertilizers for roses. I like liquid fertilizer. You can even feed them tomato fertilizer. They'll love it. They'll do great. Once a month, after the rain or after you water, you never want to fertilize anything that's in dry ground because it's going to burn the roots. That's it. They're easy. Where fancier roses like the David Austin, that's a whole different approach. So if you want a lot of color off your driveway or across your patio, go for knockouts. They come in a single petal or double petals. These are doubles. I tend to like the doubles. They give you a bigger show. You can get them in pink. You can get them in yellow. I think they have them in white now. The red, they're my favorite. I always think of Alice in Wonderland where they painted the roses red because they planted them white, and the queen, she wants them red. So I like the red roses. This is one of my favorite roses. It's called Abraham Darby. It doesn't look great at the moment because we've had a lot of rain, and roses do not like rain, but this opens up into a quadruple carnation. It looks like a peonies when it's blooming. The only care you have to give roses of this nature are in the spring. Get on your hands and knees and get your executors out. Cut all the dead or gray wood out. Thin them out. Feed them. That's pretty much all you have to do. You're going to have to deadhead. But if they're blooming and you're cutting them and bringing them in the house, you don't have to deadhead as much, but they do need to be deadhead. They will bloom here and there, but never like, roses never bloom in the rest of the season the way they do in the spring. So that's one thing you have to get yourself used to. This has been discontinued. This was the last year they're selling it. I've had this bush here for 20 some years, but they're discontinuing. Go to the David Austin website, you can find something similar. They have beautiful roses, and they're very bushy. They're just, I think, one of the best roses out there are the David Austin. Next, I want to show you a thornless rose, which my wife loves because she hates rose bushes because of the thorns. Which brings me to another thing. If you want a rose that's heavy scent and very old-fashioned, and you want to keep kids from climbing out of windows or burglars, get the Sarah Von Fleet Rugosa rose. These stalks, canes, have thorns all around the canes. They're brutal. They're brutal to prune. The scent will knock you down. They offer out these pink roses. You can trim them into bushes right under windows. So if you're trying to keep people from climbing in your windows, put Rugosa roses under them. Now we're going to go over and look at the Zinnia rose, which was developed in Europe, and it's a thornless rose. So follow me. This is the Zinnia rose I was talking about that was developed in Europe. This is the third year. It's getting comfortable. They call it a climber. It's kind of a misnomer. They send long canes up. I have another one. I'll show you that one. It's been there 20 some years. It only blooms in the spring. That's it. And it sends canes, but it's not your typical climbing rose the way Blaze or other climbing roses are, where they have canes and you tie them up and shoots come off of those. This is totally different type of climber. So it's a semi-climber. It just gets tall and it has no thorns. It has pretty pink, kind of a dark rose, and then it goes to pink, pretty in the spring. It has light jade leaves. Every year you have to go in and cut the dead stalks out. Now the one I'm showing you, I think I haven't totally cleared it out, but we're going to go over and look at that at the moment. So this is my 20-year-old Zinnia, and as you can see, it's long canes, and this is pretty much the size. You can get it to 10 feet. See how I have to get the dead wood out. It's easy to work with because there's no thorns. And it sends up, now you can see this shoot here. Roses are heavy feeders. You want to make sure they have good drainage, but you want to make sure they're getting water. So if you have a drip system, that's great. And you want to make sure they get fed every month. So it's a chore around here. Now you can foliage feed, which is really great. I have a friend who has a truck and we put fish emulsion in it, and he sprays the lawns, the bushes, the trees in June, and it just, boom, everything loves it. It comes alive. That's one way to do it if you have a smaller garden. Just get a little sprayer that you can put on the end of a hose. You can get them at the hardware stores. They love to be foliage fed, and that it perks them right up. Don't do it in the heat of the day. Don't do it in a drought. Do it in the morning or the evening, and especially after there's been a rain. That's the best time to do it. So now we're going to move on. I'm going to show you the other side of this aisle and show you how I did a grouping of boxwoods and sage and clematis and a hydrangea bushes. And it's more of an English garden, where a border garden where things are building up to a crescendo. A crescendo, I like that. So anyway, we're going to turn the camera around, look at the other side. This is what you're aiming for in a garden. You want to stack the things. Now, these are mountain gem boxwoods, so they're disease resistant. I feed them once a year. pelt them with 10-10-10, that's it. Trim them once a year. I'll let them go for a while. I'll just take hedge clippers over them. You don't want to do that in the heat of summer. Autumn is the best time to trim all these things back, or early spring. This is sage, the type you use in cooking. And I think in one of the videos I said it's pink. You can see it's blue. And I put these in all different places. It keeps the weeds down. It's beautiful. When it's done blooming, I just take hedge clippers over it. It comes back drought tolerant. Pink, double knockouts. Single, I think that's single pink knockout. Purple clematis, and behind it I have hydrangea, butterfly bush in front of it. That's pretty much it. So you have things stacking up, and things that bloom. Hidden in this spot, I have Saravan Fleet. It's probably the most popular one out there. It's kind of like Beethoven's Fifth. There's a reason why it's popular. It's beautiful. It's one of my favorites, and I stick it in all different places. They're beautiful to clip and bring in the house, and they're just beautiful when they're blooming. So I try to put those in spaces in these border gardens also. Border gardens are work, unless you have them totally packed, because I have weeding to do in here today. Now I'd like to show you a yellow climber I planted last year. It's on the other side of the chicken yard, so it gets plenty of fertilizer, and it's happy because it's a sunny location. Roses like sun. I love this rose. I cannot remember the name, so I call it the yellow rose. I bought it in a box store. It was a bare root rose. I brought it home. I figured I don't really care, and I shoved it in to cover the chicken yard. And it's beautiful. The leaves are shiny, and they have flowers in clusters. And it's very happy here because it gets all the runoff from the chicken yard, so you don't have to fertilize it that much. And it's getting shade at the bottom, but it's getting full sun. And I am very happy with this, which brings me to, you can primp over your things and clip and feed and spray and do all the right things. And then you drive by a gas station in the country that's been out of business for 20 years. Nobody's pruned it or fed it, and it's beautiful. Climbing on the side of a building, and I think to myself, maybe I'm overdoing it with my plants. That's a joke. Anyway, my goal is to get this up and on the chicken yard. Every spring this will need to be thinned out and fed and left alone. The Rose Society will tell you in the spring, go in, thin out the dead wood. We talked about this earlier. Get all the gray wood out so air can get in there. Feed it, and that is basically it. Let them go and enjoy them. Thank you for joining me in my garden. I think I enjoy my garden the best when I'm walking around sharing it with people. The rest of the time I'm weeding and clipping. So thank you for joining me, friends and family. Have a wonderful day.